Hey guys, MCU Collect here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro Marvel Legends series, the Deluxe Venom Let There Be Carnage movie Carnage figure. This thing is massive. I will do a comparison, of course, with the Venom movie figure. And you can see there is a major size difference between the two. But I got mine from ToySnowman.com. Looks like he got in a little bit of a shipment. It's still listed as pre-order on the website, so he should be getting in even more pretty quick. So make sure to head to ToySnowman.com. Link in the video description below. It's my referral link. If you use that link, create your account. For new buyers, first-time users, new accounts, you get a 5% off coupon code in your Frost Rewards. But here we have the Venom figure, and it's massive. Looking at the box, like the new style packaging, look at how much larger it is compared to like the Deadpool packaging. It's massive. And I'm very excited for this one because we didn't get a movie figure for Venom 2, but then we got Carnage was announced, and it's like, okay, well, I guess if you have the first Venom, if you have that Venom figure, then you're good. But today on the Hasbro Pulse fan stream, they did announce that Target will get an exclusive Venom figure to go along with Venom Let There Be Carnage, and we'll have like tendrils with little Venom heads on there coming out. And I think that's because they got to reuse that torso, which had all the keyed in holes from the Venom King in Black figure, so they had to plug in those holes somehow. So we got another Venom figure in case you missed out on this previous one that got released a few times. It got a couple of reissues, I think. But here we have the Venom. Very excited for it. The Venom Let There Be Carnage logo there, and up at the top we just get that artwork of Venom on the back, and then here we got Venom and Carnage like screaming at each other there, which is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and get this Carnage figure out of the package and take a closer look. Alright, so I got the trays out of here, and you just have to look at how massive this Carnage figure is. Like, it's crazy how much bigger he is compared to Venom. Venom was already a very large figure, but looking at Carnage, he's even bigger. But look at this craziness. So those crazy Carnage tendrils are bendy wire, and then there's like 5 pieces in total back there. So a whole lot going on here. So let's get it all out of the tray so we can get a better look. Okay, so here we have everything out of the package. And when I had said 5 tendrils earlier, I was wrong. It's actually 3 tendrils, but 2 of them are like doubled up. So we have the single piece here, and this has this kind of end piece there, which is kind of crazy looking, as you can see there. And then you get this other one that is very crazy looking. It's got like a little sharp, well, it's not very sharp. It looks like it's supposed to be sharp, and then this one is just like sprayed out there. And then you have this one that looks like another kind of blade, and then this one that's kind of got some pokies, things like that. So you have the 3 tendril pieces. So here we have the 3. He has 3 holes in his back as well. We get these extra hands. So this is a right hand. As you can see, it kind of has a curved blade to it coming out from the back of his hand. We get a little bit of the black paint on one side, not the other side. So it's all red on one side, and then we do get some black on the other side. And then here, which could go onto either hand, I guess, however you want to do that. This would be like a long axe type blade here. We get the black on both sides this time, which is pretty cool. There. So those are the accessories. Oh, and then the additional interchangeable head sculpt. So we have just like the smiling head sculpt there, but then here we have the one with the long tongue out. And the crazy thing about this one, we'll take a look there, and you could see kind of how like the symbiote look to it is, kind of the gooey part to his jaw, which is pretty cool because you could see through it's like separate pieces. So that is pretty awesome. So we will see how this head sculpt looks on him and taking a look. But yeah, this figure is massive, and I'm going to have to play around with these tendrils on how I'm going to want to do it. The good thing is they are bendy wire, so you'll be able to kind of pose it around in all those different ways that you can. But before I put those on there, let's get in for a closer look at the figure. Okay, so here we have a closer look at Carnage. I already went ahead and swapped out the head sculpt, so we have here kind of the open mouth one with this tongue sticking out. This is the head sculpt we have on here. The eyes are squinted down, and it looks a little funny in my opinion. I like when the eyes are like clearly visible. They're just squinted down, so it looks just kind of odd. And then when you look at it straight on, you know, I'm like, it looks a little bit funky. So I wish the eyes were a little bit bigger. But I love the idea of like the jawline here, how you can actually see through the tendrils there, which is pretty cool design there. So just kind of crazy and menacing looking and all of that. So we're gonna pop that off and put the other head sculpt back on, because I feel like that tongue is just going to kind of get in the way and everything. And then here's just kind of the standard smiling head sculpt there, and that looks really good. The sculpted detail in this symbiote and everything is just really nice. But looking at the rest of the figure, there's all these different spots throughout the figure where you actually have like the tendrils, the symbiotes, kind of sticking out. So on each shoulder you get a little bit that sticks out, and then on the biceps, triceps, and the forearms and everything we get it. Same for the other side, and it's all different in each spot, as you can see there, kind of throughout the figure. On the back, not really a whole lot going on because that's where the tendrils are going to be coming out from. And you can see where it's keyed in on the back of where you could do it. Now, I'm sure you can put these on there any which way you want, but it probably makes sense that the two at top would be the double tendrilled ones since it balances. But you could do it however you want to do, of course. Looking at the rest of the figure, we do get the inverted ab crunch and the diaphragm on there, so good points of articulation. Looking at the black kind of throughout, the red, it's kind of a shiny red plastic color, and then that black is kind of looks like a little bit of almost like a dark gray, not quite a full black color. That's kind of sprayed on there to kind of bring out some of the color, which is cool, which is pretty cool. The sculpted detail of the symbiote is pretty crazy, as you can kind of see throughout. So it's kind of has that fluid-like look to it, kind of how Venom had. So it's pretty awesome that they do that. And then on the back of the legs, we actually get a little bit of that black paint in there. Well, the upper legs, nothing on the lower legs. On the fronts, we do get it. And then you can see all the tendrils sticking out in different areas all along the legs as well. So that is pretty cool design. And he's got his feet there. So pretty cool look overall. Taking a closer look at, the accessories. So here was that hand piece with the blade. So that is a really nice touch there. But again, there was only the black paint on one side, not both the sides. And then the big like axe piece there, which is cool. And then taking a closer look at some of these end pieces to these tendrils. Again, these two remind me of the same, because like these are the same blade types, and then these two, basically I think they're supposed to be the same, whereas like the spikes are just kind of spread out on this one, whereas this one they're not quite spread out. And then the single one, we have this design here where you kind of have the barbed ends there, which is pretty cool looking. So I'm going to put these on the back of the figure and we'll kind of see, which way I end up doing it. One really cool thing that I did not notice before, if you look at the hand, there's actually a hole in the hands because that's just how like the symbiote covers his body. That's not just because there's a defect in there. It's just because, how the symbiote covers his body and everything is very fluid-like. There are holes in the hands there, just like there are a lot of like crevices and things like in the sculpt and design, which is all pretty crazy. I thought that was pretty interesting, and I didn't mention that earlier, so there we go. Okay, so here is the Carnage figure, and I have the tendrils on here, and this thing's kind of crazy. Like, I almost feel like it's too much going on here, because it's just a whole lot of insanity when you have like 5 different tendril pieces that are just like sticking out and kind of ready to attack. But if you look, this is how crazy the back of it ends up looking. So it's just kind of tough. Like, I mean, you can kind of bend early on, but the bendy wire itself doesn't really come into effect until like, way over here. So it just kind of sticks out for kind of a long ways. There's no hinges or anything on these tendrils like we've seen with some other pieces. So they just really got to stick out far, and then you can kind of pose them into ways and kind of getting them into different areas. And then, you can kind of do things with Carnage on kind of how you want to attack. You've got to position them in all the different ways that you need to. But I just feel like there's just so much going on, and that it's just a little too much. So you can just, of course, remove them. If you don't want them on his back, you can just pull them out and move them around, or swap them around, or don't use them at all, or use one of them, use 2 of them. You could do really any combination you want there. So it's just kind of crazy how you can have it. But let's go ahead now and see his articulation. Okay, so for Carnage's, Yeah, Carnage's articulation. He can't look up that much. He can look down all the way, which is good. You get a full rotation in that head, and you get some good crazy pivot going on in there. The shoulder you can get to go straight on out like so. You can do a full rotation in that shoulder. You got an upper bicep swivel in there. Double jointed pinless elbow gives you that much bend there. Wrist swivel, and they do hinge, standard horizontal hinge on both of those hands. The right hand with the blade in it does have a hinge as well. The other hand that has kind of the axe, I guess, also has a hinge, and I guess that'd be more like vertical hinge. I will show those off here in the next segment. We get the upper diaphragm cut, so you can get Carnage to tilt to his left that much. You can get him to tilt to his right that much there. It goes back a fair amount on its own. Coming forward, not a huge amount, but we have that inverted ab crunch. So total, you can get Carnage to crunch down forward that much, and you can get him to lean back that much there, which is quite a bit. And then, of course, you get the swivel at that diaphragm. Legs go out that far apart, which is good. He can kick forward that far, which is really good. There, the leg doesn't really go back, if anything, very slightly. You got these crazy thigh cuts in there that really breaks up the sculpt when you swivel them around, so just a heads up on that. Double jointed pinless knee gives you that much bend there at the knee. No calf swivel or anything like that, but foot hinges down all the way. You get some hinge up, ankle pivot, peg holes at the bottom of the feet. So pretty good articulation there for Carnage. And he's so tall I can barely fit him in frame. Okay, Carnage is just so large, it's hard to fit him like really in frame. So you could swap out these hand pieces that very easily, as you can see there, and it does hinge like that, so you can really pose it around in certain ways. You know, if anything, a butterfly joint would have been real nice with these. We don't have that, so you kind of have to be a little bit more creative when it comes to how you can kind of move these around. And, you know, with that hinge, that helps a little bit. And then this hand with the kind of the blade sticking out of the middle, I don't really find this one as useful. But again, the creativity's got to flow in me to where I could get like certain pose where it could really make sense. But they're pretty cool. One thing though, I feel like the ankles probably aren't strong enough. That rocks a little too much to get him to stand in certain poses that you want him to. And of course, as soon as I start talking about it, he just stands up, no problem. But I've had issues getting him to balance quite a bit. So it takes a little bit of patience when it comes to those ankles. So just, you know, be aware of that. Okay, so this Carnage figure just presents all kinds of challenges when it comes to these tendrils. You could see that I have to bring the camera back super far, so I'm like trying to reach and I'm have to lean forward and everything like that. The tendrils are awesome, and again, you can kind of position them however you want, but I just hate that they have to go back so far for you to be able to then utilize the bendy wire to bring them forward. So that just kind of sucks. They have to go back so far. And I don't know if there was a better way to have done it. You know, if it would have been possible to have, you know, like it sticks out here and then maybe a hinge somewhere here to bring it like around and then have your bendy wire. You know, I'm sure they probably thought of different ways they could do that and what was going to be the most cost effective. This was probably it. But again, he's just got a whole lot going on when you really piece this all together. So it's just kind of insane. And then bringing this down lower can be a little tricky. It's just you really have to work the bendy wire to kind of get it the way that you want it and the way that you like it. It's just a little bit of patience, I think, is going to be the thing. And then displaying it's going to be tough because he becomes very back heavy. Like he wants to go back, and then the ankles, you know, a little bit difficulties kind of getting them to kind of support that. So just a heads up on that. And then you can position this however you want. You can move these around. You can do stuff like this. You know, you could have it all kind of over to the side. So that's the beauty of it. So, you know, you can have different looks and things like that for Carnage. And it just, you know, can become a bit crazy. Okay, side-by-side comparison. Here we have Venom and Carnage, and looking at the size difference. And this is one of the issues that I had with Let There Be Carnage. And I think, because I didn't care for Venom Let There Be Carnage a whole lot. I really enjoyed the first one. Hopefully the third one will be great. The Last Dance. Trailer looks pretty good, interesting. But I just didn't really care for Venom Let There Be Carnage. I'm not sure I'm not sure what it is about it. I don't know if the comedy that they tried to add in there was just a little over the top, that I didn't care for. But one of the biggest things is I didn't care for Carnage's size. Like, Carnage should not be this massive and towering over Venom, right? He should be smaller, slender. But no, that's not the Carnage that they gave us for the film. So it's just kind of tough to see these next to each other. And scale-wise, I'd have to go back and watch to really see scale-wise if this is kind of an accurate representation of the two from the movies. It likely is. It's just, it still bothers me. And then Carnage, his body's built kind of weird. Like, he's super tall and lanky. Like, I feel like his shoulders are upper body should be a little bit wider than it is. Whereas, like, Venom, right? He's got a very wide upper body. They have the same, like, articulation scheme, but the thing that's going to be tough for a lot of folks now is because the Venom is not pinless. It's all black on black, so it doesn't bother me. It's not that big of a deal. Carnage is fully pinless. We're getting a new Venom figure, but it's essentially just a repaint, with added tendril pieces. So it's still going to have pins. And I know people are going to hate that. It's 2024. Hasbro needs to get their shit together. Like, why are we still getting, pins in 2024? Like, I mean, I don't always expect them to make new molds every time. It'd be great. But if we have those expectations, we're never going to be happy and we're never going to be satisfied when it comes to these things. I'm not the businessman making the decision, everything like that. If it were up to me, pinless all around. If it was up to me, Venom Let There Be Carnage Venom figure is going to be fully pinless. It's going to be all new. But, that's not the reality of it, unfortunately. So I know that's going to be, kind of tough when it comes to that. For shits and giggles, we are going to throw this in here. Somebody on Instagram requested it. I don't think this makes sense, but I can understand why somebody would want to see this. Here's the Marvel Legends Final Swing Spider-Man figure. Look at how tiny he is compared to Carnage. I mean, just too freaking small. It's just crazy. Sadly, we won't ever see a Carnage. I don't know if we won't ever see, but we won't see a Carnage Venom Spider-Man in a movie again, or we don't know really how that's going to work. Carnage likely never, but there is the insane side-by-side comparison of these three. And then just because we've had more than one Carnage figure this year, we had the retro carded figure that, funny enough, I also got this one from Toy Snowman. So they seem to be, the source for the Carnage figures there. So there are those two Carnage figures side by side. Okay, so that is my review of the Carnage figure. You guys let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of it? It's cool that we got it, but the proportions of it just seem a little bit odd. And again, my criticisms come from mostly the character design for the movie, like him just being so damn tall. I'm just not a fan of. The tendrils and things are awesome. It just makes it like there's a whole lot of things going on for it. And granted, like, some of that stuff is only from a few scenes in the movie. I think it was was it in the jail, like when he has all those tendrils coming out of him, so it makes sense. And again, you don't have to use them all if you don't want to. You could put all three on there. You can just put one. You could put two. You can kind of change it up any way you want. The accessories are cool. I like the big axe one. The hand with the blade on there is a little bit odd, but it does work out pretty good. And I like that we got two head sculpts on there, so that is pretty cool. But you guys let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of this Carnage figure? Is it one that you're picking up? Let me know down in the comments below. And again, I got mine from toysnowman.com. It is currently listed as a pre-order, so I expect that he will be getting more in relatively soon. So keep an eye out on that and get your orders in. So toysnowman.com, link in the video description below. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching.